in flames outside the United Center as the Harris voters got a little rowdy. Things got a little tense outside the arena. Many, many arrests. Lots of these Antifa thugs and these pro-Hamas scum were fighting with the cops, burning the Israeli flag and the American flag together. One patriot tried to save the American flag, and sadly he failed. The black-clad thugs, masked thugs, outnumbered him and just kind of shoved him aside. There he is on the screen. Nice try, pal. But it wasn't to be. The American flag was in flames, and these people are just getting warmed up. If you think tonight is not going to be worse and tomorrow night is not going to be worse yet, you are wrong. I think many of these guys, many of these rabble, they want to get arrested. It's a badge of honor. They know there'll be no consequences. They've been arrested many times before. They can't go back to their little hideaway, wherever they're staying, without being arrested. What kind of anarchist goes to a big event like this and goes home without being arrested? So I think you're going to have mass arrests tonight or tomorrow or both, and I'm looking forward to it. It was a different scene inside the arena. Lots of love because the Obamas, the leaders of the Democrat Party, the overlords, Barack and Michelle, made their appearances, and it was as nauseating as you'd expect. There are many things that these two phonies had to say, and we'll get to that. We'll get to the highlights. But there's nothing more disingenuous, nothing phonier, nothing faker than watching Barack Obama and Michelle Obama stand up there and tell you what a wonderful man Joe Biden is, what a wonderful president Joe Biden is. I mean, this is the ultimate in gaslighting. I think the theme from last night, we'll get to their praise of Joe Biden a month after they shoved him off a cliff. But the theme last night and all week is, and I agree with it, I think it's a good strategy. It is pointing out what a disaster the country has gone through for the last 3.5 years. What they're doing is campaigning against the current administration. What they're doing is campaigning, promising to fix all the problems in this country right now. And I guess many of the people in the audience, many of the delegates, they're stupid. They're emotional. They're not thinking. They're just reacting. They just love the Obamas. Who's president? Can you remind me, Ironhead, who's president right now?
I think there's a cabal of overlords that hide in the bowels of.
I'm pretty sure the cadaver in the White House is Joe Biden. Still Joe Biden. Who's vice president right now? Kamala Harris. Who has controlled the White House for 12 of the last 16 years? If they're going to fix the problem, I think we have a really obvious question. Why didn't they fix it? Last 12 of the last 16 years, this guy has controlled the White House, the executive branch. Hell, he's controlled the DOJ, the FBI. He's controlled the IRS. Why hasn't he fixed the problems in 12 of the last 16 years? Trump was just a blip compared to this guy. Hell, Trump was in control for 3 years before COVID. Trump was hamstrung by these phony scandals, beginning with the Russia scandal, the Russia hoax, led by this guy, Barack Obama, who last night was saying those crazy Republicans, they think government is corrupt. Who could possibly think that the government is corrupt? But it is not an easy task for these phonies. They have to literally look the country in the eye and say, Joe Biden was wonderful. Joe Biden did a great job. Joe Biden was, what do I have? I want to get the adjective, was an outstanding president, according to Barack Obama, and a dear friend. A month ago, 5, 6 weeks ago, Joe Biden told the country that he's not going anywhere, told the country that he's staying in the race, that all those rumors about him stepping down were false. He's not going anywhere. That's what he said. On a Saturday, I believe, he said he's staying in the race. And on a Sunday, he pulled out. Why? Because he was pressured by this party boss from Chicago, Barack Obama, and Nancy Pelosi, and Chuck Schumer, and Hakeem Jeffries, and of course, Kamala Harris. And they're going to stand up there and tell you, we love Joe again, night in and night out. We love Joe. That's why we put him at midnight on day one of the convention. That's why as soon as he was finished with that crazy, angry, disjointed, incoherent speech, he got on a plane and headed to California, where he is staying in the $37 million mansion of a big donor. It's the 17th time Joe Biden has stayed at the home of a billionaire donor in the last 3.5 years, and he's declared none of it. He's broken all the rules, but that's okay. It's crazy to think the government is corrupt, says Barack Obama. I want to play the Obama clip talking about Joe Biden. It is just the most disingenuous 2 minutes in American political history. Again, no one believes Joe Biden stepped down voluntarily. No one believes that this guy didn't lead the coup. You can still support Harris if you want. You're nuts if you do, and you could still love him, but you can't believe what he's saying here. Nobody believes Joe Biden just decided one day to put country and party over self. No one believes that because it's not true. They saw the polls. They knew Joe Biden was losing. They knew he couldn't handle another debate with Donald Trump. They knew they were going to lose the White House, and Joe Biden was going to hurt them down ticket in congressional races and Senate races. They feared Joe Biden was going to cost them the House, the Senate, and the White House. So his dear friend, Barack Obama, sat him down and said, Joe, you're done here. It's over. Why did Biden agree? Why did he acquiesce? Who knows? I mean, if we had a real media, we might know by now, but I have some theories. They're not fresh and unique, but they may have threatened him with the Robert Hur tape, which is the tape of his interview with the special counsel. We saw the transcript. We know it was a mess. We know he was rambling and lying, and Hur concluded that he was a elderly man with a bad memory. That tape would have been devastating. We know Barack Obama knows about all of Joe Biden's schemes, all the money he's taken in from China and Ukraine and Romania and Russia. He knows where all the bodies are buried. Did he threaten Joe Biden and say, it would be a shame, Joe, if people knew just how corrupt you are? We're not sure what they threatened him with. We're not sure what they offered him. But the fact is, Joe Biden had no intention of stepping down. He wasn't unclear, ambiguous about this. He said, I'm not going anywhere on July 13th. And I believe the next day he was gone. That was a coup by any definition. That was a coup led by Barack Obama, who stood in front of the country last night and said Joe Biden was a great president and a great friend. And today, the media, the Democrats are all saying, what a wonderful speech that was. What an amazing man Barack Obama is. It's just so phony, so fake. He is just such a fraud. I mean, he reads a teleprompter and it's all full of flowery, lofty language. But when you look behind the curtain, you realize he's the power behind the throne, and he has been for 12 of the last 16 years. He's the one that led the Russia hoax. He's the one that tried to undermine Donald Trump. And last night he had the gall to rip Trump for whining. Imagine whining if you're Donald Trump. They have tried to put him in prison for the last 2 years. They tried to undermine him when he was a candidate against their guy, Hillary Clinton. And then they tried to undermine him when he was in the White House with phony investigations. And then they shot him. He's whining. Imagine getting shot in the head and whining about how you're being treated. Imagine facing prison time for one phony case after another and whining about how the opposition and the media are treating you. What a whiner that Donald Trump is. All right, let's go back to Joe Biden. You got a date on this, Ironhead? I'm pretty sure it's early July, and there were rumors that Biden might be stepping down. He put those rumors to rest in no uncertain terms. He made it clear he's going nowhere. Just to remind you, here was Joe Biden 5 weeks ago.
Here's a little bit of what the president said in his own words just a few moments ago.
The bottom line here is that we're not going anywhere. I am not going anywhere. I wouldn't be running if I didn't absolutely believe that I am the best candidate to beat Donald Trump in 2024.
I'm not going anywhere. Couldn't be clearer. Couldn't be clearer. This guy was not going anywhere until Obama sat him down and said, yes, Joe, you are. You're going away. Now, we saw how angry Biden is, how bitter he is Monday night. And then again, he just left the arena, left the stage forever. And then the next night, the man who led the coup stood up there and said, what a great guy. What a great president. Let's listen to Barack Obama. Last night, it just doesn't get more disingenuous, more phony, more dishonest than this.
I can say without question that my first big decision as your nominee turned out to be one of my best. And that was asking Joe Biden to serve by my side as vice president. Other than some common Irish blood,
what does that mean?
Joe and I come from different backgrounds, but we became brothers.
Brothers.
And as we worked together for 8, sometimes pretty tough years, what I came to admire most about Joe wasn't just his smarts, his experience. It was his empathy and his decency.
Oh, God.
His hard-earned resilience, his unshakable belief that everyone in this country deserves a fair shot. And over the last 4 years, those are the values America has needed most. At a time when millions of our fellow citizens were sick and dying, we needed a leader with the character to put politics aside and do what was right. At a time when our economy was reeling, we needed a leader with the determination to drive what would become the world's strongest recovery. 15 million jobs, higher wages, lower healthcare costs.
Higher wages?
At a time when the other party had turned into a cult of personality. We needed a leader who was steady and brought people together.
Oh, yeah.
Was selfless enough to do the rarest thing there is in politics, putting his own ambition aside for the sake of the country.
I'm going to vomit. I'm telling you. Selfless enough to put his own ambitions aside. He knows what he did. He knows what he did. He did what they did to Joe Pesci at the end of Goodfellas. He put 2 in the back of his head. He knows that. Most of the people in the arena know that. This guy is just so unctuous and slimy. I mean, he's just reading these words knowing that they're just bullshit. That's all it is. He ended Joe Biden's 52-year political career. He's not a friend. He's not a brother. He's not a decent man. He doesn't have compassion. He knows that. He knows he's just like him. He's a charlatan. And he knew that he was going to lose to Trump, and they can't stand the thought. They hate that more than anything. The thought of Trump returning to the White House for 4 more years. So he threw Biden down an elevator shaft and then stood before the country and said Joe Biden was selfless and decent and my brother. And today on cable news and in New York Times and all, and they're fawning over this phony. They have thrills up their legs because he gave his speech, because he read a teleprompter, read one lie after another. And they know the truth. They know it. And they could learn more if they dug in, if they reported, if they did their jobs. They could find out what happened on July 13th. What happened when they sat in a room with Joe Biden? Why? Why did Joe Biden suddenly go from emphatically pounding the desk and saying, I'm not going anywhere, I'm staying in the race, to suddenly saying, you know what? I'm going to put country over self. This is the biggest load of crap we've ever heard from this guy, and that is saying a lot. And it was one load of crap after another last night from him and his loathsome wife. Oh, God, is she just detestable. Just a reminder, the Obamas were worth something like, I don't know, less than $1 million when they took office in 2008. They're worth hundreds of millions of dollars now. They have at least 4 mansions, 3 of which are on the ocean, because they're real big believers in climate change. They have servants. They have private jets. They get paid tens of millions of dollars to make crap or put their name on crap for Netflix. This guy made tens of millions of dollars to do a podcast with Bruce Springsteen that nobody ever listened to. The movie they made, their big movie for Netflix, was awful, but it didn't matter. They got paid. Michelle Obama makes $100,000 a speech and then stands before the world, before the country last night and rails against rich people and billionaires who take too much, take more than they need. I'm telling, and it doesn't matter. Whatever they say, these people are just going to drool over and tell you how wonderful it is and how powerful. That's the problem right here. There's no substance. There's no policy. There's no genuine ideas, fresh ideas. It's just this lofty language it's fake and phony as freaking cotton candy. My favorite moment, I think, was Michelle Obama railing against the idle rich. The only reason she's not the candidate is because she doesn't want to give up the good life. She's royalty. She doesn't want to be president. That'd be like a demotion. She likes to be queen. Is this Michelle talking about people who just take too much?
You see, my mom, in her steady, quiet way, lived out that striving sense of hope every single day of her life. She believed that all children, all people have value, that anyone can succeed if given the opportunity. She and my father didn't aspire to be wealthy. In fact, they were suspicious of folks who took more than they needed.
Oh, God. This folks who took more than they needed, says the woman who's worth, I don't know, 600-700 million today and has mansions all over the place. I'm sorry, I can't take it. You know, today you're going to hear it. If you're watching the news, reading online, on Twitter, you're going to hear how powerful and effective these speeches were. Doesn't matter that they offered no real ideas, no solutions to the country's problems. Here's your rundown on mentions of big issues. Last night, the main speakers, 8 main speakers. This would include Bernie Sanders, J.B. Pritzker, Doug Emhoff, they're fawning over that guy too. No mention of knocked up nannies from the media, but the 8 main speakers, they mentioned Donald Trump 24 times. They mentioned the economy 6 times, the border 4 times. You want to guess how many times they mentioned inflation? Ironhead, take a guess.
I'm going to say
Which should be in many people's mind, that's the biggest problem we have today, we're facing today. How many times did the 8 main speakers mention inflation?
I'm going to say between 70 and 80% of
Good guess. Once. Here's the rundown, by the way, from day one, Monday. They mentioned crime Monday 6 times, border 8 times, economy 28 times, Donald Trump 160 times. That's all they got. They know their problem today is the same as it was in July. Nobody is voting for their candidate. Nobody likes Kamala Harris. Nobody likes Joe Biden. They just hate Donald Trump. There are 2 kinds of voters, Trump voters and Trump haters. That's it. That's all they got. Trump bad, Orange Man bad. And they're going to fix all the problems he caused. Oh, but wait, he's not president. He hasn't been president in 3.5 years. Oh, let's not get bogged down in the details. He's bad. We're gonna make sure he doesn't return to the Oval Office. That's their promise. That's all they got. I want to do, before we move on, I want to do Kamala, because this was bizarre. In case you're wondering where Kamala and Tim Walz, Tinkerbell Tim, where they were last night, they weren't in the arena. They weren't even in Chicago. They were in Milwaukee. She was in Milwaukee at the arena where they held the RNC last month. For some strange reason, they fly to Milwaukee. You know, these big climate change advocates or activists, they get on the jet and fly to Milwaukee for like a 10-minute appearance in an arena there during the convention in Chicago. And Kamala Harris, as usual, just read a script for 10 minutes, laughed, smiled. Tim Walz jumped around like Richard Simmons, as usual. But here's something I just find amazing. Kamala Harris says over and over again how she's going to fix things, as if she's not in the White House now, as if she's not vice president now. But we know she's the one person in the country most responsible for the high prices, for inflation. We know she voted for the Inflation Production Act. We know she voted for every wasteful spending bill. We know she wanted to just spend. That caused inflation. Everybody knows it. Here she is last night making a campaign promise that could be the most ridiculous promise we've ever heard from a politician. Go ahead.
One second.
We got Kamala on stage smiling. I mean, she brought joy. I have to give her that. It was very joyful. It was a very joyful promise she made to the crowd, and they loved it. And Tim Walz was dancing in the background, and they cheer for this too. And I guess. All right, go ahead.
Believe in a future where we lower the cost of living for America's families. And when I am president, I will bring down the cost of groceries by making sure markets are competitive and fair.
They cheer. She's going to bring down the cost of groceries. Now, we know her idea is insane. Price controls, going after the grocers who make 1.2% profit, going after them, stopping them from price gauging, as she said. Just so stupid and so ignorant. And I guess I'll give her credit for actually having an actual proposal. I mean, it's insane, but that's if you're watching along, there's Tinkerbell Tim dancing across the stage. That's the big highlight tonight. This fraud is going to take the stage, and I'm guessing he's going to do a cartwheel. What do you think? Maybe a somersault when he takes the stage. He's
Probably possibly eat a banana in one bite.
he's he's oh Tim, I think they might have to revise Tim's speech tonight because of course everything he said for the last 2 weeks has been a flat out lie. He's just a disaster. And yesterday we learned this phony has been lying about IVF. He said that his 2 children were conceived through IVF, and that's an attack line on JD Vance somehow, who's not against IVF, but whatever, it doesn't matter. And it turns out it's a lie. His kids weren't conceived through IVF. He just used it. He used his family, his wife, his children to go after Vance. And the New York Times reported that that's not how his kids were conceived. They didn't use IVF. No big deal. He's a command sergeant major. Give him some respect. Oh man, this guy. And it's just going to be all just gyrations and histrionics and lies. That's tonight. Can't wait. Last night was just more propaganda. That's all it is. Just more gaslighting. Oh, good news. Their business is booming in the abortion truck. The taco truck that they've converted to an abortion truck outside the arena. Their business is cranking. 25 babies have been killed in that RV outside the arena. So that's good. And they have a line for vasectomies, which I'm all for. I'm not for the abortions, but I like the idea of offering vasectomies to Democrats. And apparently lots of them are taking them up on the offer. All right. We got much more to get to. We got to get to this scandal. Oh, by the way, big news, breaking news from Alex Jones. Take it for what it's worth. He has some news about RFK, which could change the race, and I'm hoping he's right. We'll see. We'll get to that and more. But first,
excuse me.
It was a kind of a phenomenon when Kamala Harris entered the race, when they anointed her, when they made her the nominee, even though she didn't get any votes or win any primaries, and then her numbers jumped. And she was in the lead, and she was beating Trump in all the battleground states. And you're saying, wait, how did that happen? She didn't talk. She didn't say anything. She didn't do any interviews. She didn't hold any press conferences. She didn't have any proposals. And you're saying, how the hell did the numbers jump that dramatically? Well, this is, at least partially, this is an answer to that question. This is the explanation. We know the mainstream media is completely corrupt, completely in the tank. We know they are as dedicated as the Obamas to defeating Trump. That's the goal. That's the job for ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, New York Times, Washington Post. That's all that matters to them right now, stopping Trump. And they're doing their best. Check out these numbers. The Media Research Center, which does a great job, took a deep dive into the coverage of the 2 candidates, and it's always lopsided. I mean, they do this on an occasion, and they've been doing it for years, and it's always favors the Democrat. I've never seen it this bad. This is where we are in this country. There is just a coordinated effort between the Democrats and the media, and they're all on the same page. The Democrats send out their talking points. They tell you that JD Vance is weird, and the media just repeats it like they're their press agents. That's what they do. They don't do journalism anymore. Those days are over. Maybe they'll come back after Trump, but as long as the orange man is a threat, they will do whatever it takes. And if that includes lying to you on a daily basis, that's what they will do. If that includes covering up Joe Biden's cognitive state, covering up Barack Obama's role in deposing Joe Biden, they will do it. They have no interest in fact, there's another story. See if we can get this to before I get to this. The media, someone hacked the email account of the Trump Vance campaign, and they got the emails, and it includes the vetting of Vance and why they chose Vance. Do you know why you haven't read anything about that? because it wasn't negative, because it wasn't a scandal. They found nothing negative, so they didn't report it. I forget, see if you can grab that for me, Aaron, which media outlets got a hold of these hacked emails and they decided not to report it because it wouldn't hurt Trump. Here's your numbers. Do we have the time frame on this? I believe it's 2-week time frame. They went through all the coverage of the network news. For Kamala Harris, it was 84% positive. For Donald Trump, 89% negative. Almost 90% negative coverage of one candidate and 84% positive for the other. Go ahead. Tell me again how we have an actual media in this country. We do not. That matters. I realize the media's always been liberal. They've always tried to help Democrats, but they're just throwing away any pretense of objectivity. They're not interested in doing journalism anymore. They're interested in helping their girl. And man, do they have their work cut out for them. There is just, hell. Check this out.
So I just looked up the story real quick, and the only thing I'm seeing is the left wing places blaming Iran for the hack.
Oh, Iran hacked them. But you know why you're not seeing the hacked emails? Because they're not hurting Trump. This isn't going to get a lot of coverage either. This is from yesterday. Kamala Harris is endorsing Joe Biden's 2025 budget proposal to introduce a 45% capital gains tax on long-term investments. She's also backing a 25% tax on unrealized capital gains. You know what that means? That means if your 401k or your IRA goes up, which it usually does, they want to tax you on the increase, the gain, even though you didn't sell, even though you didn't cash out. They're just looking for ways to get in your pocket and take and get more of your money. And she wants a 28% corporate tax, which is higher than China. A 45% capital gains tax is insane. And everyone knows it. It's just like price controls. Everybody knows she's an economic illiterate. She's a dummy. And she doesn't understand how the economy works. That's why she wanted the Inflation Reduction Act to be twice the size that Biden proposed. Because she just thinks the government has money. You know what? If people want to buy a home, let's give them $25,000 each. What could go wrong? She doesn't know. She doesn't care. She doesn't understand anything. We are dealing with like a child in Kamala Harris, like a high school kid who hasn't taken Econ 101 yet. Doesn't matter. The media has her back, and they will not tell you when she goes off the rails. They will not tell you when she has a proposal that would be absolutely destructive to the economy. Do you have that? Let me get that up, that tweet. This is a Twitter account that does financial stuff. Kane Koa the Great. He tweets a lot about the economy and financial issues. And he writes, Kamala is proposing an insane 25% tax on unrealized capital gains. So you buy shares of stock, or you have a 401k that's worth $100,000 and the value rises to $150,000. Under Kamala's plan, you owe taxes on the 50%, on the $50,000 gain, even though you haven't sold it. Imagine the stock's value drops back to 100. You don't get anything back, you know? You know what this would do? This would make everyone think twice about investing. It's just insane. But she doesn't understand. And this guy writes, taxing unrealized gains would force investors to sell off assets to cover their tax bills, hurting long-term investment and economic growth. This isn't just risky. It's a recipe for a stock market crash and a Great Depression. Think of that. I just think of the deterrent. You're not rich. You just want to make an investment. Maybe you're concerned about, your retirement. So you invest in a mutual fund. It goes up 20 grand. She wants to tax you. Say you owe them $5,000. Maybe you don't have it. So you know what you do? You don't invest. That's what you do. This is the best idea ever to deter people from investing. And this is one of the two major candidates for president. This is her idea. Funny, I didn't hear any mention of this from Barack Obama or Michelle Obama or Bernie Sanders or J.B. Pritzker. That was a highlight of the night last night, by the way. Bernie Sanders railed against billionaires and, of course, and then left the stage. The next speaker, J.B. Pritzker, who bragged about being a billionaire. He inherited all his money, $3 billion from the Hyatt hotel chain fam. He's a billionaire who never worked a day in his life, and he was bragging that he's a real billionaire, unlike Donald Trump. That was last night. Billionaire's bad, just not our billionaire. The big fat guy, he's a good billionaire. All right, let's do the Alex Jones story, because this got me excited. This could be a game changer, I think, I hope. Alex Jones is right a lot of times, not always right. And I know people dismiss him out of hand. We will see if he's right about this one. This is from, obviously, his site, InfoWars. Sources inside Robert Kennedy's campaign have exclusively confirmed to Alex Jones that the independent candidate is set to formally drop out of the race and endorse Donald Trump on Friday at an event in Los Angeles. Now, I'm all for this. I hope he does this. I heard his running mate say that their top priority is stopping Harris and Walz because they'd be so dangerous for the economy, for the country. And there's no way they're endorsing her. That's not happening. He's either staying in the race and losing and being irrelevant, or he's dropping out and endorsing Trump. And the rumor is that they met and Trump is promising a cabinet position. If that's what it takes, I'm all for it. The only problem I have with this is, why wait till Friday? How about Thursday? I don't know, 7 o'clock Thursday, hold a press conference, just steal the thunder on Kamala Harris's big night. I'm not sure she's going to be very effective when she gives her big speech and she's, laughing and talking about, price controls and capital gains taxes. But this would be big. I mean, the polls have shifted. The polls in 5 days, from August 15th to August 20th, just flipped. It went from Harris up 2 or 3 or 4 to Trump up 2 or 3 or 4. Why? Because Harris opened her mouth. She talked. She actually answered a couple questions and offered a few policy proposals, which are nuts, and everybody knows it. So the more she talks, the worse it is for her. And so I'm hoping she keeps yapping. That's the plan. Keep talking, Kamala. Let's hear all those crazy Marxist proposals. And let's hear more from your running mate, Command Sergeant Major. They introduced Tim Walz at the DNC as Command Sergeant Major, a rank he does not hold. He's still lying about his rank. He's still stealing valor. I cannot believe they vetted this man. Like this guy that loves China, that loves sex changes for children, that wants tampons in the boys' room, that lies about everything, IVF and everything. I mean, there's a guy, Greg Price on Twitter, is tracking all his lies, and every time it just gets longer every day. And he's really hasn't been out front yet. Tonight, he's out front. So I assume it's going to be a litany of lies, but he could be the most dishonest candidate we've ever seen. Nothing he says is real. Nothing about him is real. Just a complete fraud. Speaking of complete frauds, we'll get to the story about, only 300,000 missing children. That's all we're talking about. Just 300,000. We'll tell you what Kamala Harris said about Donald Trump when there were unaccounted for minors among, kids coming across the border. And now what's happening under Kamala Harris, who last I checked was still in the administration. She didn't quit or anything, did she? I mean, she's obviously very upset at the current administration. She's promising to fix all the problems the current administration has caused. She's promising on day one things are going to change. And I keep looking and saying, wait, aren't you vice president? She doesn't want you to know she's actually in the administration, which is causing all these problems. But we'll get to that and more. But first,
excuse me.
This is the ultimate. Can you imagine if Trump? Can you imagine if Trump? Just try to just follow along, and just try to imagine if the current sitting president were Donald Trump. This is from the New York Post. They write, House Speaker Mike Johnson slammed the Biden administration after a stunning Inspector General's report released found nearly 300,000 migrant children have gone missing in the U.S. The administration's failure to secure our border is facilitating what is the equivalent of a modern slavery operation, Johnson said. This is, you got to read it twice. ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, said as of May 2024, they had failed to locate more than 291,000 unaccompanied children that had been released to domestic sponsors, according to the Department of Homeland Security Inspector General. Another 32,000 were found and given notices to appear, but never showed up. Again, there it is, right in front of us. This is from the Office of Inspector General. More than 291,000 UCs, that would be unaccompanied minors, are missing. Have you heard about this? Has anyone reported this? This is unbelievable. Under Donald Trump, they reported 545 UCs. That would be 545 missing kids. Kamala Harris, at the time, Senator Kamala Harris tweeted, "It is outrageous and a stain on our national character." That was when AOC went to Texas and fake cried in front of an empty parking lot because Trump put kids in cages. Those kids, they're not in cages anymore. They're missing. They're with human traffickers. They're with the cartels. They're dead. And it's not even a story. I'm telling you, I've been watching cable news. I've been online all morning. Barely a mention of 300,000 missing children. In fact, that fraud Obama last night railed against Trump for separating children, separating them. So Trump separated them from their parents when their parents committed crimes. Biden and Harris, they just lost them. They're just missing. We don't know. Where are they? We don't know. It is amazing. And then we'll hear how compassionate, how caring Democrats are. They lost track of 300,000 children. And Trump's the bad guy. Yeah, Trump doesn't care. He only cares about himself. Kamala cares about people. She cares about children. She's a compassionate Democrat. I'm not sure I can make it through 2 more nights of this Ironhead. Not sure I can stomach Tinkerbell Tim tonight bouncing on stage. This was good Trump. Trump yesterday appeared in Howell, Michigan. And this is such a canard. The media, led by that Lindsay Davis, by the way, who will be moderating the presidential debate, the one debate Kamala's, she brought this up on the air 2 nights ago during the convention coverage. She said Trump was going to a place that's a hotbed for the Ku Klux Klan. You're thinking, man, that's like Mississippi in the 1930s. They showed it. There was a Klan rally in Howell, Michigan. There was like 8 guys, 8 losers, eight rednecks just marching, walking down a sidewalk. They didn't even have hoods on. They weren't even like real Klansmen. They were just these losers from the sticks who, lost souls. So that made it a hotbed for Klan activity. Keep in mind, at the same time, Kamala Harris was in Dearborn, Michigan, meeting with Muslim leaders who want to wipe Israel off the face of the map. That's okay. That's cool. That's an important demographic. But Trump's not supposed to go to a town that once had 8 losers walking down the sidewalk pretending to be Klansmen. So the media did what they do. They ran with this phony race controversy. When he held a press conference, it was mostly about crime. It was mostly about supporting the police. It was good Trump. He was measured. He didn't go off the rails. He didn't talk about how handsome he is, how he's better looking than Kamala, which is funny. The line was funny, but we don't need funny right now, Donald. We need focus. We need discipline. We need issues. We need policy. Talk about her capital gains. Talk about price controls. Don't talk about how handsome you are. Not now. After you get elected, sure. Not now. Anyway, here he is dealing with the Klan issue in Howell, Michigan yesterday. Hey, boo.
Who was here in 2021? Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
That was perfect. That was perfect. Trump, he needs to do that more often. Just make your point and walk away. She asked, are you concerned or whatever she said that there was Klansmen around here and it's a symbol of, the Klan. And he just said, who was here in 2021? Joe Biden, and walked away. Yes, Joe Biden was there. I mean, seriously, this is good too. Yeah, sorry. I get caught up in the Obamas and the DNC, but J.D. Vance is a great candidate. I love, and I feel more strongly about that each and every time I hear a Democrat say that he's a disaster and he was a bad pick. They hate him because he's really good at this. He's good at campaigning. He's good at handling the media. He's good at taking questions. And they asked him yesterday, how will he prepare for his debate against Tinkerbell Tim? I believe there's one VP debate agreed to, moderated by 2 Democrats as usual. But how will he prepare? I can't wait for that. That is going to be fun. And his answer was just perfect. Good.
To know how you were prepping for a debate with Tim Walz, who has described himself as a bad debater. Who's helping you, and how are you prepping?
Well, I found a good friend from back home who embellishes and lies a lot, and I'm having him stand in for Tim Walz. That's what we're doing during our debate.
He's going to kill him. I mean, I can't get my hopes up too high because it will be rigged. Walz will have the questions in advance. There'll be 2 moderators asking about climate change and abortion and January 6th, but I have confidence in this guy. And if Trump wins, he's immediately the favorite to win the White House in 2028. And that sounds good to me. But
the cops smirking in the background was very funny.
The cops all support Trump, Vance. It doesn't matter what their union bosses say. It doesn't matter. They know what a disaster Harris and Walz would be for the cops. And that's just the other thing. I talk about violent crime being down. That's the strategy for Biden, for Harris, for Obama, for Walz. It's just lie. That's all. Just tell them violent crime. The economy's great. Violent crime is down. The border is secure. It's an unusual strategy, but I guess they have no choice. Just lie your ass off. But all right, that will do it for today. Day 2 of the DNC in the books. Day 3 tonight. I want you to capture the dance. All right, this is important. Ironhead tonight. I don't care what he says. When Tim Walz takes the stage, I want the dance. I want all the histrionics because there's something really creepy about this guy, and I just want everyone to be prepared. If the media keeps digging, we're going to find out he's worse than we thought. He's creepier than we thought. There's something really off about this guy, and we'll be watching tonight when he takes the stage. But that'll do it for today. Thanks for listening. Thank you, Ironhead. I'm Jerry Cass.